President Joe Biden was in Buffalo today. He spoke for almost 20 minutes. Here is some of what he said today in speaking to the families and addressing the nation.
In America, evil will not win, I promise you. Hate will not prevail, and white supremacy will not have the last word. For the evil did come to Buffalo. It's come to all too many places. Manifesting gunmen who massacred innocent people in the name of hateful and perverse ideology, rooted in fear and racism. It's taken so much. 10 lives cut short in a grocery store. Three other wounded by a hate-filled individual who had driven 200 miles from Binghamton in that range to carry out a murderous, racist rampage that he would live stream to the world. What happened here is simple and straightforward. Terrorism. Terrorism. Domestic terrorism. Violence inflicted in the service of hate and the vicious thirst for power that defines one group of people being inherently inferior to any other group. A hate that through the media and politics, the internet, has radicalized, angry, alienated, lost, and isolated individuals into falsely believing that they will be replaced, that's the word, replaced, by the other, by people who don't look like them, and who are therefore in a perverse ideology that they possess and being fed lesser beings. I and all of you reject the lie. I call on all Americans to reject the lie. And I condemn those who spread the lie for power, political gain, and for profit. That's what it is. We've now seen too many times the deadly and destructive violence this ideology unleashes. We heard the chants, "You will not replace us," in Charlottesville, Virginia. I wasn't going to run, as the senator knows, again for president. When I saw those people coming out of the woods of the fields in Virginia, in Charlottesville, carrying torches, shouting, "You will not replace us," accompanied by white supremacists and carrying Nazi banners, that's when I said, no. And I, honest to God, those who know me, Chuck, you know, I wasn't going to run for certain. But I was going to be darned if I was going to let anyway. I'll get going. Look, we've seen the mass shootings in Charleston, South Carolina, El Paso, Texas, and Pittsburgh, last year in Atlanta, this week in Dallas, Texas, and now in Buffalo, New York. White supremacy is a poison. It's a poison running through it really is. Running through our body politic. And it's been allowed to fester and grow right in front of our eyes. No more. I mean, no more. We need to say as clearly and forcefully as we can that the ideology of white supremacy has no place in America. None. And look, failure for us to not say that, failure in saying that, is going to be complicity. Silence is complicity. It's complicity. We cannot remain silent. Our nation's strength has always come from the idea. It's going to sound corny, but think about it. What's the idea of our nation? That we're all children of God. All life, liberty, our universal goods, gifts of God. We didn't get it from a government. We got it from because we exist. We're called upon to defend them. The venom of the haters and their weapons of war, the violence and the words and deeds that stalk our streets, our stores, our schools. This venom, this violence cannot be the story of our time. We cannot allow that to happen. Look, I'm not naive. I know tragedy will come again. It cannot be forever overcome. It cannot be fully understood either. But there are certain things we can do. We can keep assault weapons off our streets. We've done it before. I did it when we passed the crime bill last time, and violence went down, shootings went down. You can't prevent people from being radicalized to violence, but we can address the relentless exploitation of the internet to recruit and mobilize terrorism. We just need to have the courage to do that, to stand up. Look, the American experiment in democracy is in a danger like it hasn't been in my lifetime. It's in danger this hour. Hate and fear are being given too much oxygen by those who pretend to love America, but who don't understand America. To confront the ideology of hate requires caring about all people, not making distinctions. Reverend, the scripture is seeing that we're all part of the divine. Love thy neighbor as thyself. That's the America I know, that Jill knows. And most deserve the most, look, we're the most multiracial, most dynamic nation in the history of the world. Now's the time for the people of all races, from every background, to speak up as a majority in America and reject white supremacy. These actions we've seen in these hate-filled attacks represent the views of a hate-filled minority. We can't allow them to distort America, the real America. We can't allow them to destroy the soul of the nation. As President of the United States, I travel the world all the time. And other nations ask me, heads of state in other countries, ask me, what's going on? What in God's name happened on January 6th? What happened in Buffalo? What happened? They'll ask. We have to refuse to live in a country where black people going about a weekly grocery shopping can be gunned down by weapons of war deployed in a racist cause. We have to refuse to live in a country where fear and lies are packaged for power and for profit. We must all enlist in this great cause of America. This is work that requires all of us, presidents, politicians, commentators, citizens. None of us can stay in the sidelines. We have to resolve that here in Buffalo, that from the tragedy, this tragedy will come hope and light and life. It has to. And that on our watch, the sacred cause of America will never bow, never break, never bend. And the American we love, the one we love, will endure. So to the families, from your pain, may we find purpose to live life worthy of the loved ones you lost. From a hymn based on the 91st Psalm that's sung in my church, may he raise you up on eagle's wings and bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. That's my wish for us. We can do this if we resolve to do it. If we take on the haters and those who don't even care, it's just about profit and politics. May the soul of the fallen rest in peace and rise in glory. And may God guide the United States of America, now and always. To the families, as my grandpop used to say when I walked out of his home in Scranton, he'd say, "Joey, spread the faith." And my grandma would yell, "No, Joey." He'd say, "Keep the faith." And my grandma would say, "No, Joey, spread the faith." We're thinking of you. Hold on to each other tightly. Stick together. You'll get through this. And we'll make Buffalo and the United States a better place to live than it is today.
Well, we talk about this speech. Obviously, people have been commenting on it, him calling out white supremacy. Mustafa, was that enough?
No, it was not enough. I appreciate him going to Buffalo. I appreciate, sharing with the country that, white supremacy, white domestic terrorism is real and it's happening. But we also got to get down to the brass tacks. The Department of Justice actually funded a study that came out in February of 2022, which actually talked about mass shootings that were increasing. And they talked about inside of that a number of different dynamics that are going on. We also know that hate crimes are increasing. So what I need to hear from the president is how we are going to increase the resources to the organizations and to the states to actually make sure that we are building real capacity to address this issue. Are we making sure that there are more FBI agents and more folks at the Department of Justice who are actually focused on these issues? And what are the steps that they can share, because I know they can't share everything, to address this? Are we actually also going to deal with these social media platforms and also television platforms that continue to create this fertile ground for this supremacy to actually not just be planted, but to grow, because they water it night after night after night, morning after morning after morning. And then you find individuals who start to believe in this ideology or to grow it out. So I need to hear about how we're going to actually stamp this stuff out. Because if we're not willing to do that, then we're going to continue to see more folks who are going to die because you're actually sending a message that, it's not really that big a deal. Folks will sometimes say the right things, but then when you look at their actions, you can find out if this is truly a priority to be addressed.
Teresa?
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, it's almost to the point of how many times do we have to ask our commander-in-chiefs, our U.S. senators, our congressmen, to actually stand up and do what they have the power to do, right? I think as voters and as citizens, we are asking for change. We're asking for them to really do their jobs, and so as we even come up to an election. For the primary election, we need to be asking them same things, asking them same questions, not the day of, not the week before, or not when a tragedy happens, but prior to. So we can see if they are the right elected officials that on day one, they will get it done.
DeMario.
Completely disappointed. Last year, President Biden came down here to Tulsa. He gave a similar speech. Didn't move the needle. He didn't announce any particular policies or processes or resources, Mustafa has stated. He did the same thing here. It's performative. It's a waste of time. I want to hear him talk about doubling the DOJ's budget, as Mustafa talked about, to deal with these issues. I want to hear him call upon the congressional leaders to utilize the 14th Amendment to kick out of Congress those known white supremacists who are in Congress today. They have the power to do it. They refuse to do it. I want to hear him talk about actually going after Fox News and Tucker Carlson and those individuals. And I want to hear him stop saying that this is antithetical to the American democracy. This is what American democracy has always been about: the destruction, the terrorism, the killing, the maiming of Black people. Anti-Black racism is as American as anything else. We have to be honest about that. This speech is a complete disappointment. It means nothing. It didn't move the needle. No policies was provided. No resources provided. He could have just stayed in Washington, D.C. as far as I'm concerned.
All right, folks, back to that Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?